The impact of light rail on Ottawa real estate is hard to overstate. Its opening may still be several months away, but LRT has already had a significant impact on this city and its property market. Hi, I'm Peter Kavesi, and I'm the head of content at the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Show, where we explore news, trends, and developments in the capital's commercial property market. Today, we're taking a closer look at the impact of light rail. Yes, there have been setbacks. The opening of the 12.5-kilometer line has been pushed into next year. But that hasn't slowed down businesses from positioning themselves to capitalize on this new rapid transit system. Developers are planning new projects around the new stations. Tenants are taking a closer look at the location of their office space. And landlords are looking for opportunities to reposition their existing properties. But what about all those buildings that aren't directly on a light rail line? Is the central office market going to be broken up into LRT haves and have-nots? And what about all those businesses that have had to endure years of construction-related headaches? Here to help explore those questions are three of this city's real estate experts. Joining us today is Brent Arsenault, leasing manager at Colonnade Bridgeport, a local developer and property manager. And we're also joined by the two sponsors of the Ottawa Real Estate Show. Lacey Miller is a business law and real estate lawyer from Mann Lawyers, and Sean Hamilton is the managing director of CBRE Ottawa. Sean, Brent, Lacey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Peter.
Brent, let's start with you. So we're here in the offices of Mann Lawyers, which is at Holland Cross, which is managed by Colonnade Bridgeport. Just across the street is the under construction Tunney's Pasture station. Can you tell us a little bit about what light rail has meant for your firm?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Colonnade Bridgeport is really a transit-driven development opportunity company right now. So we've got spots all along the rail lines starting at 1960 Scott, which is under development, and Westboro Connection, here at Holland Cross, downtown at 275 Slater, 66 Slater, 90 George, all the way out to Tremblay Road, which is the far east end. And we're highly driven by the new development of the LRT. We think that it's a boon for what we do in terms of attracting tenants, attracting federal government tenants and private sector tenants.
So are you finding that because of vacancy rates in Ottawa are starting to shrink now, are you finding that tenants are really trying to get space specifically on the LRT line or just close proximity to the LRT line?
I think the federal government is trying to get space on the LRT line. I think that's a major driver for them, and I think that's only a positive thing for the east end of the city, which is historically over the last 10 years been a very tough place to be. So I think that's a very good thing. In terms of tenants, yes. We're seeing a development in this city where we're now getting technology tenants downtown. We're now getting a younger generation downtown. We're now seeing that the LRT is going to help the movement of those people that live and work kind of in that periphery core area.
So I think the themes revolve around ones of intensification and a changing workforce. So if you look at the projection of millennials in the workforce over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, they're projected to come up to about 50% of the workforce. And these people have been proven they live differently, they commute differently, and so an urban environment and ease of transportation is extremely important to them. So I think the LRT will service these people over the long term and accommodate their growth. You talk to the people at Shopify and their average commute times are on average 6 to 8 minutes. So the LRT isn't to appeal to people like me, although I would suggest that more people in my demographic should take the LRT, but it's there to service a group that will, I think, be an instant adopter of that form of transportation.
Sean, what about some of the buildings that aren't directly on the light rail line? How are they remaining to stay competitive with this new system about to come online?
Yeah, so commercial real estate has always been an industry of have and have-nots, to quote you in your introduction. So, I mean, the question will be how far off the LRT are they going to be? And, what group are they trying to attract? So if you have a group that is far removed from the LRT that is trying to attract a millennial group and a high intensification group, you're barking up the wrong tree. So these groups will have to position themselves to find groups that might not be dependent upon LRT or might not look for LRT. But more importantly, I think this will cause buildings to augment their offering, augment the quality of the tenant experience. So I think the reality is along the LRT, we're going to see buildings working hard to be top quality to attract tenants, and those who aren't on the LRT are going to have to up their game to attract tenants. So An unintended byproduct of the LRT, I think, will be that buildings will improve, and those that don't improve will unfortunately have to suffer the consequences or reposition themselves.
You know, there's been so much talk in Ottawa about all the exciting developments west of the downtown core, be it Zibi, Bayview Station, and of course LeBreton Flats. However, some have suggested that when it comes to LRT, the opportunities on the east side actually may even be greater around St. Laurent and Blair Station. What are you seeing as far as the opportunities east of downtown?
Yeah, I mean, we're heavily involved in development all along the LRT line. The East End has potential for some major development sites out there. I think they're a little bit longer term when you look at the end of that Tremblay Road area. I think they're a little bit long term, but what you're seeing along St. Laurent, Blair Road, and with the tower going up at Blair Road already for residential access, I think it's going to be a boon for the East End, honestly. It really will. Densification, just to touch on Sean's note, I mean, densification is going to occur everywhere. We're already developing multi-res along this rail line, but what I think you're going to see is the old school densification downtown. So the old school accounting, those types of firms are already starting to move out of the core. So access to LRT, where it's not as important for the certain firms, they're already starting to vacate those premises and being backfilled by those younger technology companies. It's fascinating, really, to see the development.
Absolutely, and if you think of it, North American custom has always favored development in the West. I mean, go west, young man. I mean, everything seems to be oriented towards the West, and in the city, certainly there has been. The East End has been primarily a dormitory community for the city. The East End now will be tied in, I think, 7 minutes away from the downtown core. So you look at the federal government, who has now the main champion of transit-oriented design in Ottawa, just because they're the largest tenant, who is looking to reduce costs and reduce their dependence on the downtown core. This now gives them, the LRT, gives them the opportunity to move east, take space, be equitable in terms of how they occupy space within the city, while, to Brent's point, free up space in the downtown core, which has shown in the past that the tech community will backfill the space that the federal government leaves behind. So in this case, we can have an equitable distribution of government work, equitable distribution of employment, and even spur our tech growth in the downtown core. So the LRT really has several potential positive spin-offs for the city.
Lacey, in your line of work at Mann Lawyers, you help a lot of tenants with their commercial leasing. Tell me a little bit about what you're hearing with your clients. What does light rail mean for tenants?
So, I mean, light rail for tenants, I kind of look at it for tenants that are currently near on an LRT line where there's a lot of work being done. It's kind of shorter, medium-term pain for long-term gain, right? Because you're going to be, there might be issues right now with less foot traffic potentially, if there's road closures, scaffolding, anything that's disruptive, noise, debris, vibration. Like, that's all the not great things that tenants are going through potentially right now, but, look at the benefits long term. Sean touched on it, saying, what does a startup or a young tech company want? They want young workers. Where do young workers live? Typically downtown. So you're going to be able to attract more talent. So from a business perspective for tenants, there's nothing better than being close or on an LRT line. You can attract the talent. Hopefully, if you're in the retail space, you can get more foot traffic. People are more willing to come downtown. Hopefully there's less congestion. You'll get more business. Your clients might not be as deterred from seeking you out if you're in the core. I would say those are kind of for the current tenants that are experiencing, the current difficulties. That's the benefit in the long term. For tenants that are kind of seeking out space now, if you don't necessarily, and we did touch on it before, if you're not necessarily seeking space right on the LRT line, you might be able to start getting some concessions from landlords that are off LRT that maybe aren't seeing their space being filled. You might be able to negotiate some better terms for yourself on that. So,
there's understandably, a lot of excitement, primarily focused on that first phase that is going to, come online in the coming months. But of course, as that's happening, the city is moving ahead with tendering the second stage of light rail, which is going to send trains even further west, east, and south. Brent, Colonnade Bridgeport has been pretty active around some sites, particularly around Westboro. I'm wondering, as Ottawa has these long-range rail plans, how is that changing how the city develops from a real estate perspective?
We view this in the same sense that we view technology, right? So the early adopters of the LRT are going to be the beneficiaries. So there's going to be a little bit of pain, as mentioned, but I think it really will. So phase one, get in, see how that changes how we move around the city. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a lengthy process, but I think the way phase one is going to change how we move around this city is you can come here to Holland Cross, park your vehicle, go to a couple meetings downtown on the LRT, come back to your vehicle and go home. If you have a meeting all the way on the East End, you can take the LRT all the way there, come all the way back during the day for meetings. So that's phase one of that early adopting crew that is going to really change the way we move around the city. And then that's going to allow them to see the benefits of being on that second phase of the LRT line, which is why we're developing so much residential along the line just west of here. And I think it's going to stretch all the way down to those areas near Greenbank and such. And I think you're going to see those nodes continue to develop along in advance, hopefully, of the completion of that LRT line. And then you'll see early adopters that understand it, they'll jump in and they'll start occupying those spaces. Whether the infrastructure, I'm remaining cautiously optimistic that the infrastructure can make it there in time as well from a city perspective as we grow. I'm not sure we're prepared for the amount of growth that the city is going to see because there's a lot of people that are very excited and have a lot of ideas around this. So as long as the infrastructure from the city can keep up with the development, I think you'll see those nodes going west.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in the short term, I think it'll be interesting in that it'll be primarily East End focused. I think it'll give them that little head start, and will be interesting to see how things backfill. I mean, you've got to see at Tremblay Road, for instance, you're building there. An LRT's got to be a game changer for that building.
It's huge. Yeah, I think you'll redefine the segments of the city from a commercial real estate. I've been trying, but it's periphery core now. We'll view that Tremblay Road right down to Preston, right up to Holland Cross. That whole is now a section of the city. It's not a detached portion of the city. And then the LRT just stretching to Blair Road and stretching out from there. It's just a benefit to that East End.
But commute times to the downtown core now.
6-7 minutes on an LRT.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to pay for parking. You don't have to worry about snow, rain, rush hour traffic.
Correct. And it's a depressed market, has been for years. So you can get deals out there if you're a corporation significantly lower than you're going to get downtown. So you can get out there for much, much cheaper than you're going to be downtown. And then you're going to be able to, your employees who live downtown, if you're a younger workforce, can then just commute to work in 6-7 minutes.
Which is less time than it takes to walk from one end of the core to the downtown. So in fact, being in the East End linked with LRT could become more efficient than being on the fringe of the core, in theory. So that'll be a game changer. And Brent, to your point, and a thought I hadn't thought of would be, never mind the commuting traffic, but that interday traffic. That will be interesting to see how that works out and how the flow, the poor taxi drivers. I mean, first Uber comes into town and now the LRT. I wonder if that will impact that industry. We'll see.
And I mean, we might start to see, I mean, we all know kind of the center core gets a little quiet after 6 o'clock at night. We might start seeing a bit more hustle and bustle down there as well. So
absolutely, and especially with intensification downtown with the younger millennials. PricewaterhouseCooper in their Trends of Real Estate report talks about 24-hour cities and 18-hour cities. And Ottawa, unfortunately, in previous life, was famous for the sidewalks rolling up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And there is a realistic chance that we can move to a 12 or an 18-hour city, which brings that hustle bustle, that vibe, and that life that I think will be really exciting for growth.
Fortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. Brent, thank you so much for joining us, and a big thank you to our sponsors, Man Lawyers and CBRE.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you should check us out at obj.ca. We publish local business news daily on tech, tourism, real estate, and other local business sectors. We also have a free daily e-newsletter that you should sign up for. And we do a lot of great content marketing and digital advertising with some really cool organizations right here in Ottawa. So check us out, obj.ca. I'm Peter Cavesi from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in a few weeks.